Welcome to our next Arty Talk, and I have with us Pat Abbott, who is a felt maker and embroideress. And when we're looking at any group that's really, really close, there is always somebody in that group that is the glue that holds that group together, and Pat is this person. She is very softly spoken and listens, asks incredible questions, and has amazing insights. So this is going to be a very interesting interview. So it's lovely to have you here, Pat. And what I want to do is ask you our first question, which is, what is the inspiration behind your work?
I live in Formby on the coast north of Liverpool, Kate, and I've lived there for nearly 40 years. It was a place we used to go to on school trips, and I loved and always wanted to live there. And so I have achieved my life's objective, I suppose.
Very early on as well.
Very early on, yeah, from the age of about 8 or 9. But it's for people who know Formby, this is an aerial view. It's actually from a newspaper cutting in Formby Times. Mm-hmm. It's a point, and it gets the full blast of the weather from the southwest, and so it's an area, a large area, a large beach, but it's really under threat. It's one of the most rapidly changing areas of coastline in the country.
Oh, wow.
And the trees which grow in the sand dunes, and there's miles upon miles of forest, but they have this kind of characteristic look where they all point in one direction, and they have very small canopies. They're struggling, they grow in sand, they're struggling to survive. But I think that's one of the beautiful things about them, is these distorted shapes that they have. And that's what really attracts me. And I have literally hundreds of photographs that I use, and in different times of the year and different times of the day.
I
And
feel
lighting conditions.
that I know these trees so well from your work, and like you say, these shapes quite angular, aren't they?
They're struggling, aren't they? It's vegetation that's struggling. There isn't a lot of undergrowth really either, because it's just sand.
Yeah.
And
So characteristic.
they're very tall.
Yeah.
Scots pines, but you get the odd, which are quite like, you get the odd little birches coming through, and again they're all struggling to survive. But it's a beautiful landscape in its own way, and I think the angles of the trees are very attractive. I think.
Well, I love that one, looking through.
Yeah,
that's something that is quite distinctive about your work, isn't it? That you're looking through.
Yeah.
Looking through the trees, looking through. It always has this sense of somewhere you're going.
I always like to get, because you're never far from the dunes and the sea, and I always like to think that the it's not even so much the trees I'm interested in, it's what's behind, and going through towards the sea, because it's such a draw. The sea, and again I think that goes back to childhood, going on holiday. Absolutely. The last hill that you go over before you see the sea, and all the excitement of going on holiday to the seaside, but the fact that the sea and the dunes are just behind. And I quite like the shapes. They're almost like framing the background, really. I think the background's almost more important than the tree shapes themselves, which remind me a little bit of stained glass. Some of the tree shapes, and that's what I'm trying to reproduce really in some of the pieces I do.
So something like this sunset, full of colour, and you're not afraid of colour. So you've got artists that have inspired you colour-wise, haven't you?
Oh yes.
Show us a Brian.
I'm a Brian Ruttenberg super fan. I am, unashamedly. I absolutely adore his work, and he's a North American artist who was brought up in South Carolina on the coast with the woodland, and he all his life, even though he's lived in New York for probably 30 odd years, or he still paints the landscape of his childhood, which are these trees and the vividness of the colour, but there's always the light in them behind and the lovely shadows, and I love his work. And that was one of the things on the fellowship, that I tried to study how he uses colour, really. And he does the most amazing YouTube studio sessions. There's a lot of these on, and he tells you how he creates his work, and he's very funny and really interesting character. But these are huge canvases. You know, they cover a whole wall. They're massive, but I love them.
So what have you learnt about colour with him?
I think he experiments. He doesn't choose a palette. He'll experiment. He'll have an idea of what he's trying to produce, but he's very much into tone and the importance of tone. And I think that's one of the things that I've really learned from him, is that some of the pieces I've made that I haven't particularly liked that much, it's because I've got the tone wrong, really.
Okay.
And you can see the dark tones and the light tones, and you can kind of imagine these if they were black and white. And that's one of the things he does. But the other colour combinations, they're not natural colours really at all. But they give an atmosphere, and I always think, I've never been to South Carolina, but from the way he describes it, it's the humidity, it's this sort of hot landscape. Right. And I think he's managed to capture these with colours. But he just experiments. He literally throws colour onto the canvas, and if it doesn't work, he'll cover it. And I mean, that's, I suppose, one of the beauties of felt, that we can do that really as well.
Absolutely.
We can layer, and if we feel a bit isn't working.
I mean, I just love this area here that feels like a heat haze.
Yeah.
And yet, like you say, bright colours, fully saturated colours.
Yeah.
Even these sort of blues here are not overly tinted. They're just got tiny touches of white in them. They're just beautiful, aren't they?
Yeah. I just I think that they jump out at you, don't they? The colours, and you know what it is. You know it's a woodland landscape, but it's very abstracted. But the way he uses colour, I think, is amazing.
And he's painted trees for a lifetime, which has given you permission to carry on making more blooming trees, as Mike says.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. It's and he said he has a little phrase. He said the world doesn't need one more painting of a tree, but what it needs is one person's interpretation of a tree.
Yeah,
and so it is. He gives you permission to keep going. But
I think his work is stunning.
I love his work.
You've got another artist to show us.
Yeah.
This is from the Canadian group.
Yeah.
Group of 7.
These again, these were from the Canadian artists, the group of 7, Tom Thompson. They were working at the turn of the 20th century, the early 20th century. But again, they do these gorgeous big landscapes of Canada all year round, different seasons. And they're quite impressionistic, really, I think. And but the light and the colour of them, and they feel quite ahead of the time, really, considering
definitely.
They were painting.
Yeah. And once again, we've got the looking through, haven't we?
Yeah.
And this use of the warm colours against the cold,
and the beautiful the beautiful backgrounds, but they're big. They have these. It's big landscapes.
And the colour in the snow.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just beautiful.
It's incredible, isn't it? But there's some, again, this is this book about them. It's amazing, and I look at the books. I look at the books a lot.
You do research is something that underpins everything that you do, and and you're very generous at sharing that with us as well, and which is lovely. But I also think, it's really important, the artwork that you're making, because you are recording the beach where you live, which in 50, 100 years' time might not be there.
Be underwater.
Yeah.
That's what they reckon.
Yeah.
So certainly.
It's very, very important what you're doing. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Kate.
Question number 2, Pat, is how do you go about developing your techniques?
Well, I start off usually from photographs, and then I might do either little paintings. This one's one when I was trying to work on the Brian Ruttenberg type of colours. This is a photograph of a Brian Ruttenberg painting, but I thought it went quite well with this. It's a sort of early evening picture, so it's got the quite vivid turquoise and orangey trees. So I did this. It's a little acrylic painting, and that's often how I start, or I'll do a little collage or a little watercolour. I use Inktense, anything really, and sometimes they're quite small.
Yeah, you really enjoy those small studies, don't you? And like you say, you're happy to collage, you're happy to do watercolour. The watercolours are exquisite, but the acrylic really suits the colour palette of Brian Ruttenberg, doesn't it?
Well, it does. And again, because it's just so easy to just paint over. It's. And this was I do lots of sampling. I love sampling because you're so free. You can just do what you want and then stick it in a book. That's what I like to do. And this with this one, I was trying to, again, I was using the same colours, but I was trying to get more texture into the trees. So I put some stitching in the trees, and I'm trying to go for a sort of a low relief kind of effect. And so that's what I was working on there with this.
So the stitching has been really, really important to you, hasn't it? That's something that has come to you through the fellowship.
That's right. I didn't really stitch at all before fellowship.
Because you have been working on these trees since intermediate.
Yeah.
And so you've worked on them from intermediate, advanced, just progressing your techniques and what you want to say about these trees.
Yeah.
And the influence of Brian Ruttenberg and the colours have been the big thing, I think, from fellowship.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I think is really interesting is your passion for Shetland wool.
Yeah.
And that started when you were just working with the naturals at intermediate, and you've gradually introduced the colours. And we've got more access now to dyed Shetland.
Yeah.
So you can have all the colours. So why do you enjoy working with Shetland wool?
Well, when I was starting off in the early part of advanced, I did a lot of samples in different wools. I found the Shetland suited me, suited the type of thing I was doing. It felt quite well. It's not too hairy, and it blends really well with merino, so you can get the kind of quite subtle shades with it. And I mean, now we've got dyed Shetland as well. But also I wanted to get to know one type of wool really well, and so I suppose I've been using it for about 6 years now, so I feel like I understand it better.
I think that's a really good point, to pick one thing and work with it and know it, and your fingers know it.
Yeah.
And you showed us in the videos last year your technique and the way that you work and mould and create this wonderful low relief in your pieces, and it's been the fibre that's allowed you to develop the technique that you do use.
Yeah, I'm happy with it. I do enjoy using it, but I'm bringing in other things as well, other types of wool and other threads, bits of fabric, curls.
Yeah.
This is what the trees kind of start life kind of very soft. I felt
You
them
wouldn't
very
believe
soft,
that, would you?
And then I felt them onto a background, and often that will be Shetland, or sometimes actually use pre-felt if I'm thinking in terms of stretching a thin felt over mountboard. I might use merino pre-felt, but that's basically. I mean, the other good thing about the Shetland that it's a good range of natural colours with it, really.
And you often do use the naturals, don't you? Underneath the colour. And on top of it as well.
Yeah.
And so, do you stitch on these, or do you stitch later on?
I often stitch onto these later on, and sometimes I don't stitch on the trees. I might just stitch on the background.
Right. Oh, let's have a look at the background.
And leave the trees pretty much as they are. I mean, this is an example. Again, it's from a Brian Ruttenberg. This is a little collage. And so the couple of samples I did, that was a little acrylic painting.
Just look at this collage, because this is just from magazines.
I use cutouts from magazines quite a lot. So if you can see the back, they're all kind of flowers and things. But I've used them for the colour, and there's little spots of colour, and that's the sample. And again, the trees they're really just spun threads, they're yarns, and then I've stitched. I was trying to see if I could get the stitching, just running stitches, to recede the background a bit and to highlight the colour. So I'm trying to use the stitching for texture, but also to highlight colours, really.
I think it's really important the way in which you've used it to create colour mixes, colour blends, because in felting the fibres get sucked in, don't they? And it's magical, and we love that aspect of it. But you are able to bring back this heightened colour that you love, that you gain, from Brian Ruttenberg, but also what you love, and you've been able to do that through the stitching. And I just adore the way that you have used stitch to really develop the magical quality that I see in your work, and that sense again of looking through, bringing in light, bringing in the drama.
That's I really enjoy, and again I just really enjoy doing lots of samples. So I have to be forced to focus.
You do
real pieces.
Yes, do. And she is, and you'll be able to see them in the exhibition, and they are stunning. Thank you, Pat. And question number 3, Pat, is what is most important about your work for you?
I think what I like, what I'm trying to achieve is it's the atmosphere and the light. Really, they're not realistic pictures. It's more a sort of fantasy landscape. Really,
is that how you feel when you're in your space, in your landscape?
Yeah, I think it is, because I'm looking at the shapes and the angles of things, and I do think, and in my head, it's that's what it is. It's and I think that's why I don't tend to use many natural colours. It's I'm using.
You're telling the story
colours
of
I like, really.
colours you like, but also being there, feeling that wind that's shaping everything, feeling, watching the beach and the sand and the waves and. I mean,
and the smell, I think the smell of the pines, and the smell of the sea, isn't it? There's something about it, because it's very windy. You've always got that strong smell of the sea and the pine trees, the Scots pines. So
in something visual, you're trying to depict things that aren't tangible.
Yeah, I think that's right, isn't it? Even though we're not often consciously doing that, but I think it's. it's the elements of it, isn't it?
Yeah,
And,
I share that with you in my own work, that it's about being in the place and experiencing the
yeah,
place through watching nature as almost as a mirror
yeah,
to what I'm feeling.
yeah.
So I really connect with what you're saying there.
And I think as well, it's just something about felt, isn't it? That it's when you're actually making it, there's something very elemental about it, isn't it?
Oh.
So something connects you with nature, just
Mm-hmm.
the process of making felt.
Mm-hmm.
And I think one of the things I like about it is you never quite know. It's got its own life. You never quite know how it'll turn out. When you set out to do a particular piece, it often turns out quite differently to how you've thought of it in your head.
So this is your workbook, and you've recorded the process, and there's this beautiful collage of watercolour papers, isn't it?
It's I did this as the basis for a piece I wanted to make, and so it's basically simple. It's just some painted paper collage, and then this is the process basically. Starting off from the rough and ready trees that go on, and then the different the background with the the yarns and bits of fabric and things, and then towards later on in the stages of the process, adding stitching at different stages. Again, I think it's to bring out the texture and the colour. Really, that's what I like about.
And this is one that you've created for the exhibition.
This is the final piece of that. Of that process, and you can see there's still they're more or less natural, the natural coloured Shetland, the trees, and then most of the colour is in the background, and most of all the stitching's in the background.
It's absolutely stunning, and I always adore about what you do is this low relief that you achieve in the trees. It's not just an illusion, it's physical as well. And you create these beautiful, beautiful trees on top of these amazingly looking through again. It's all that looking through and that sense of light that you've got here. I'm drawn to it.
I think it's the light in the atmosphere is what I'm trying to achieve, really. That's what the most important thing for me is, trying to get some of that through.
And you have achieved it in bucketfuls. Well done.
Thank you, Kate.
So question number 4, Pat, is what are the benefits of collaborative creativity? And it is the thing that has given us the title for our exhibition, Intertwined, and the way in which the group comes together. And this is actually a sneaky peek of Intertwined, which is the piece that you all made over 2 months, working 2 weekends fully on it to create it. And this is a small section of it. Tell me about that process.
Oh, it's so the collaborative work is so much fun, and our group is so wonderful, really, to work with. Everybody is very supportive. I mean, I think I'm in many ways the least experienced of the whole group, but yet I never feel that anybody's going to judge if I put a piece in. Nobody's going to judge that. Everybody's very supportive of everybody else. This was it's based on jute netting, and it's woven, it's felted, and I was only here for the first part, and felting a piece this huge is massive work down to the rest of the group.
And you did a lot of this stitching, didn't you? This was kind of your idea of bringing in just these small areas of stitching that kind of run through the whole piece.
That we were trying to we were looking And you can, when you see the whole piece, you can see how there is a flow to it, and we were trying to do the edges as well, and how and again, because it's such a big piece and it's different materials, you never really know how it's going to turn out until after it's been felted. And I must admit, when I came back after being away for the second weekend and saw it, my breath was taken away by what the others had done to make it so amazing.
And it is double-sided.
Really is beautiful. It is.
So when I usually make pieces on jute, I usually put fibre on the back to hold it together, but you all opted, just felt the fibre that was in the jute and let that hold the whole thing together, and it's worked amazingly. And by size, it is 4 metres long. Yeah. So you've got some photographs here, haven't you, of the process?
And this is what it looked like, but some pictures of what it looked like before it was felted and us all working on it. But I think in the collaborative work, it's been so much fun, the collaborative projects we've done together. But also, I think from my point of view, because I tend to do a lot of things that are the same or similar, it pushed me out of my comfort zone, and I get so much inspiration from everybody, all the rest of the group's work. It's really a very positive thing. We've all, I think, really enjoyed the collaborative projects we've done.
Yeah, and things like this wouldn't be done if the 5 of you weren't working together.
No.
None of you actually work in this way as individuals. It is the collaboration of the 5 of you coming together with your own skills and insights that make this work unique.
Yeah.
And it's not just a fun throwaway experience. It actually makes work that is stunningly beautiful and speaks in its own right. And I think I've said it before that the group must be making at least one collaborative piece every year, because the work that comes out of it is so different. It's gorgeous.
It is. It's I think as a group we work really well together. I feel so fortunate to be a member of such a wonderful group.
I couldn't agree more. And the final question to you, Pat, of our final interview is how has taking part in the Artie Bird Fellowship Programme changed you personally?
Oh, I think I've learned so much. It's been a huge learning curve. Things like how to curate an exhibition. It's for somebody like me who likes to wander around exhibitions and enjoys them but doesn't think too much about it. It's such a complex process, curating exhibitions.
It is, isn't it? And from making the work, and you've already used the focus word, and to hanging it and curating it. It's massive, and I think as a group you've come together brilliantly to be able to do that. And I know that I've got a solo exhibition on at the same time, and I couldn't have done it without the support of the previous fellowship, the fellowship alumni, and I wouldn't really want to do another solo exhibition. I think the community coming together and working together and showing together is just really beautiful.
I think that's right. And when we were, I suppose it was like a practice run for us with the whole college exhibition.
Bit of a baptism of fire, isn't it?
It's so hard, and but so interesting. But I mean, that's been such a learning thing to go through that process. But also critiquing, because I don't have any kind of formal art background or textiles background at all. to all the critical analysis we've done, looking at textile artists' work, books, journals. Personally, I've learned massively from doing that I understand textiles a lot more.
It's that understanding, but also, particularly in the whole college exhibition, the use of words to explain it. And I remember when those words went up in that exhibition, and the emotion seemed to go up. You know, the work stood fine on its own, but when the words were there, the emotion kicked in. And so having that ability to be able to talk about your work and the language, it can help to communicate what it is you're trying to say through your work.
I think that's right. I think it well, for somebody like me particularly, who doesn't have any kind of background, it gave me a vocabulary, but also to understand my own work better and why some pieces don't work for me that I make, and others do. I think the critical analysis skills have enabled me to understand my own work better, and I think to develop both the curating the exhibitions and the critical analysis have, I think, enabled me to get a higher level of professionalism in my work, really.
Absolutely, and what you can see here is a corner of a second piece that you have done for your exhibition, and you're showing the way in which you present your work, which works superbly for the pieces that you make.
I think this using the tray frames has worked for mine, because I think they're not they're often quite lightweight, the actual felts themselves.
Yes, you don't make heavy.
They're not heavy enough to be hangings in their own right. But I find the tray frames quite unobtrusive, and I can either mount them on a board and leave the edges overlapping, which I quite like.
I love that.
Sometimes, and then other times I stretch them on board, and I think that for the thin ones particularly, that helps bring out the low relief of the trees. So I both ways it has worked for me. So that's the way
and it gives a cohesion to your pieces to have them all in the same way, even though you have two different types of felt.
I've done them all. I've framed them all in the same way.
And you work very closely with your framer, don't you?
Oh, Darren is he's been a big help. He's very helpful. He comes up with good ideas, and he's based in Southport, Cobra Frames, but it's been great working with him.
So finding a good framer, Sue talked about this in her interview, that relationship with the framer to be able to present your work professionally, so important. And we're not showing you any more of this piece of work, but I can assure you it is stunning. And we are really looking forward to sharing the student graduation show with you, which will be going up very, very soon.